It's been an eventful day for the Vancouver Canucks. Last night, reports came out that Patrik Allvin had already gotten fired as the general manager of the team. Reports that were later confirmed by North American sources. And earlier this morning, we had ourselves end-of-year press availabilities from Jim Rutherford, Villander, Sasson, Buyum, Atu Ratu, Tolopilo, Elias Pettersson, Hoglander, Elias Pettersson, Demko, Besser, Bluger, and a whole bunch of other names in the organization. And I wanted to focus mostly on the Jim Rutherford year-end media availability because there were so many things that the guy went out there and talked about. We have a number of reports and summaries to go out there and read. So big shout out to everybody who makes it happen, who puts it all together for us to consume on the internet. We're going to go over onto the subreddit and read some of the comments made over here. But let's start out by taking a look at this quote. Tweeted out by Thomas Trance, Jim Rutherford said, "I take full responsibility for this season. I head up the hockey department, but I don't make decisions for other people, and Patrik had the opportunity to make his own decisions." He had the opportunity to make his own decisions, except when it came to the important ones, like trading Quinn Hughes. And we're not going to dive too much into this whole picture here. Frank Saravalli replied saying that Patrik Allvin was the GM in name only. Jim Rutherford drove the bus on nearly any consequential transaction, and he ran over Allvin today on the way out, then backed over him again. Just to be sure. I'd say it always ends bloody in Vancouver, but that's devoid of leadership. So harsh words from Frank Saravalli in regards to Jim Rutherford and Patrik Allvin. Now, for what it's worth, Jim Rutherford does say that he offered Patrik Allvin the opportunity to stay in the Canucks organization in a scouting and player development capacity. And that, while it might seem like a bit of a slap in the face, it wouldn't be too uncommon of an outcome if it were to go down. Like, you take a look at it, this has happened before in Columbus, for example. Jarmo Kekalainen is a guy that ended up sticking around with the Blue Jackets in a scouting role after getting the can in that regard. I mean, it's hard to get general management jobs. If you like the city and the organization, it makes a lot of sense for guys to stick around as a scout. For your information, Jarmo only finished up that scouting assignment he had planned and then left. He wasn't a part of the organization in any role afterwards. He stayed in the city prior to being advisor to Kevin Adams, but played no part in scouting with CBJ. Ideally, Patrik Allvin would run the draft. He has done the work scouting, and this draft is crucial, so we'll see whether or not he ends up sticking around there. Now, in regards to the Patrik Allvin firing, take a look at what Rick Dhaliwal went out there and spoke about on Sportsnet 650 in regards to that specific element here, as summarized by Canucks News Summaries. Dhaliwal said he knows how the story broke in Sweden, but he can't divulge. He says it's a funny story. There was a scenario where Allvin could have stayed in the organization as president and GM. A lot of agents said the wrong guy got fired. They liked dealing with Allvin. Rutherford was at the center of all the wrong moves. Miller over Horvat, re-signing Pettersson, etc. As of this morning, Dhaliwal isn't hearing any other personnel changes, and the decision came down yesterday as Allvin leaked it to the people in Sweden. So, there you go. That's how everything seems to have gone down. Let's go out there and summarize some of Jim Rutherford's media availability based off of the quotes that we ended up seeing get posted online. Jim Rutherford spoke out about Elias Pettersson. Preparation is the key to success, and I don't think he has put in enough preparation to be the player he needs to be. So, pretty blunt commentary there from Rutherford on behalf of Elias Pettersson. Pettersson, by the way, he ended up saying in his media availability he wants to stay in Vancouver. He likes it in Vancouver. It's home to him. It feels like home. Couldn't have been Quinn Hughes, right? But hey, we understand Pettersson's a much different individual than Quinn. People are going out there and debating whether or not it was appropriate for Rutherford to talk about this, but we'll see. The culture in the Canucks dressing room is the best it's been since I've been here. Not have to worry about someone picking at them in the room. Okay, now that's pretty blunt too. Imagine that, eh? The Vancouver Canucks having a culture where picking at somebody in the locker room is okay. Barking at teammates at practice was clearly a shot at JT Miller. They've endlessly praised Miller and pushed him further into leadership and encouraged him to get after Petey, so that would be a big change of heart, or more fake talk from Rutherford to rewrite history. Or they realized they were wrong about their idea to push Petey. So, yeah, you can interpret that however it is that you want. More comments over here. Rutherford said one of the key things for the new GM is they need to understand there are no shortcuts for this upcoming rebuild. Rutherford did not comment on trying to make the playoffs either. He also had a meeting with Francesco Aquilini, who allegedly said they were fine with the rebuild. So this is going to be a pretty big element that we'll see whether or not it stands up to the tests of time. If Aquilini does not meddle, doesn't force some sort of a win-now trade, doesn't push the team in the direction of trading away future pieces for now pieces, apparently they're okay with the rebuild, and we'll see how long that lasts. The top comment here says that, yeah, that's comforting, but also barking up the wrong tree. That should be directed at ownership or perhaps even the next president of hockey operations after him. Unfortunately, people change their opinions all the time. Aquilini might feel that way now, but that could change tomorrow or in October if they win like 3 in a row, or in a year where they get another top 3 pick and just choose to trade for a handful of vets. Basically, it does not matter what Aquilini says right now. We'll keep checking up on this as the years, plural, goes on. Let's take a look at this over here. Jim Rutherford spoke out about Quinn Hughes leaving. Some people think Quinn left because the team wasn't any good. He was leaving anyways, Rutherford said, and the best example I can give you is Matthew Tkachuk. I honestly really like the fact that he said that. It pretty much speaks to a lot of what Canucks fans had been thinking about too. Oh yeah, in 2024, when the team was a winning team, Quinn said that even back then it was fractured and that he still felt a little uncomfortable. And Rutherford said that, yeah, I knew back then in 2024, Quinn Hughes was still going to leave. This was never going to be a matter of whether or not the team was good or bad or winning or losing or whatever. Quinn just was never going to stay in Vancouver. That's the bottom line. So far, it's looking like the players that Canucks receive from the Wild are going to be useful, and they still have a first-round pick from Minnesota. Let's hope Dallas takes them out in the first round. So why are they making all these moves? Why did they sign these guys and trade the first for Marcus Pettersson? Absolute horse crap from JR. I get that it looks bad now, but to play devil's advocate, the Canucks were a healthy Demko away from making the finals. They took the Oilers to Game 7 with their AHL goalie in net, and they had 6 All-Stars. I totally understand wanting to go for it and make the most of the couple of years they had left with Quinn Hughes. That would make sense if the Marcus Pettersson trade wasn't after the core fell apart, after the team traded away JT, after Pettersson became a shadow of himself, and Demko was already hurt long-term. So, inconsistencies, I think, are very fair to bring up in this respect between the direction and whether or not Quinn was going to leave. It was an inevitability that he was going to leave, and the question is at that point, well, what ramifications did the Vancouver Canucks Hockey Club make as a response to that inevitable decision? Doesn't seem like they did the right thing, but hey, we'll evaluate in 5 years. Here are some more tweets as tweeted out by Brendan Batchelor. Jim Rutherford said they came in at the end of the year that was really bad, frustrating a lot of times, hard watch for the fans, so it's important for me to acknowledge the fans and give a special thank you to them. Rutherford spoke out about Allvin. It's unfortunate, the guy is a friend of mine. I think he's a great hockey guy, but we felt it was time to make a change and give someone else the opportunity to sit in that chair. Rutherford said they will conduct a search for a new GM, but also highlights Ryan Johnston as an excellent candidate within the organization. Now, with all that said, there were some extra pieces of info that were spoken about here. Rutherford talked about how it was really bad, the state of the Canucks locker room prior to the NHL trade deadline. The energy and culture in the room the last 5 weeks is the best that it's been since I've been here. So that's really interesting as well. Rutherford talking about how the locker room was bad right before the trade deadline, and then things changed and things moved in a positive direction. Irfan Ghaffar said the Canucks traded Myers, Garland, Kampf, and Reichel. Myers is one of the best teammates out there, Kampf stayed to himself, and Reichel was in Abbotsford. So with these 3 names being singled out as probably guys that didn't influence the locker room all too much, there leaves one more name that I think a lot of Canucks fans have started to turn their backs on in regards to whether or not he actually was a good teammate for this team. I guess that leaves Garland. We all know he was in JT and Quinn's camp. Garland and Hughes were probably a big part of it. Connor Garland must be Jason Voorhees when it comes to massacring team cultures. And they also called up more people from Abbey. So, with all that said, I mean, there are a number of other things you can dive into here. This is really long, and Canucks News Summaries did a lot of work putting it together, so you could go out there and read a lot of this if you want, but I wanted to just more focus on the bigger elements out of Jim Rutherford's press conference. We'll see whether or not there are some other meatier pieces of info that come out over the next few days, but for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Jim Rutherford presser, where he went out there and spoke out about the ins and outs of this franchise? How do you feel about the future going forward? Seems like a rebuild is in store. Patrik Allvin is out. He was offered a scouting role. How do you feel about all this stuff? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.